Welcome to IRL Alpha. My name is Beaconbot and I'm your host, and we're here to talk about all things NFT and Web3. However, this isn't a dry panel show. We're not here to lecture. We're here to interact. So if you're in that audience, there's some microphones for you. If you're in that chat, you can type with your keyboards. We're going to have a conversation together. We just ask you a couple things. Number one, don't shield. Number two, keep it on target. Number three, don't FUD my bags. Okay. With that, before we actually get to this panel, we got to introduce the person that makes this entire show happen, the person who handles the audio, the visual, the plants, every single thing, and he also handles all the vibes, and he is the fastest pad master on the west side. Trick, show him what you got.
Let's go.
Yeah, let's go.
That one was fast, beautiful. Back again, Bear Snake. Every single time I pull up my Twitter, there's another new announcement about shadow hats. I'm worshiping a donut now. You're in the other side. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me again, and happy to have a nice crowd here, and let's talk some shit.
Okay. Yeah. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And for the first time on the show, so very honored. Truthfully, I've listened to Kevin on Tim Ferriss's podcast, I think before a single NFT was ever minted. And then I followed the Proof podcast the entire time and learned some of the best stories we've heard in all of NFTs. The Snowfurl episode is the greatest episode of podcast, I think, of all time. You guys have heard it. Then has transferred into the Moonbirds Proof project. Mythic's coming soon. Kevin, how are you?
It's good to be here. It's hard to keep up with this energy. I gotta absorb some of this here. I'm like,
he needs a shield.
We'll slow it down.
Yeah, we
we'll
need like
slow it
a
down.
little plexi wall or something here. No, it's good. It's good to be here. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. And actually, Amanda, back on again. This is your second time on the show. So good to see you.
You got a round of applause? What the hell?
No, last time
nobody else did.
She was actually one of the few people I put on the show, and you put a mic, and then she just killed it, and was like, okay, you got a lifetime pass. It's so easy, because guess what? Apparently, this isn't an easy thing to do. Amanda, how are you?
I'm good. It's great to see everyone here. I mean, there's so many like faces that I recognize in the crowd. It's amazing. I'm ready to go. Did we say talk some shit? Because I'm ready.
He said. That's what he said.
I was just talking shit. I'm super nice.
Amanda, yeah, why not?
Well, you're AKA Stevey on the
Oh, yeah,
on the
or
Twitters.
the other thing. Yeah. AKA Stevey, yes.
Yeah, sorry. I actually should have messed up. I got links here, okay? AKA Stevey. I always call everyone by their Twitter name. You are AKA Stevey. Mm-hmm. And speaking of Twitter names, one of the few people who actually just made their name their real name, we got Patrick back again, not under arrest. Oh.
Yeah.
And apparently has just finished up curating a brand new decentralized art collection or something like that. I don't know. Tell us about it, Patrick.
We had 1,366 artists submit a work of art to be in a decentralized art exhibition. That's going to be a monthly thing. So,
Very cool.
Congrats.
Beautiful.
Congrats.
Beautiful.
Nice.
Awesome. Okay, cool. So we got a million things to talk about tonight. We're going to go through them all, but we got to stop with the hottest topic, and that's Blur trait bidding, honestly. This is what the whole timeline was. So, a little bit of context. Blur came out, and it kind of turned NFTs into shitcoins. Everything became just, what can I trade it for the floor? What's the best price I can get? Am I getting some ARB? Am I getting some farming tokens, etc.? And a lot of floors and mids and rares crashed. So finally, they've come out with the ability to say, I'm going to bid on a specific trait. And this is saying two things. Some people are saying, oh my God, we've saved mid-rare traits. Other people are saying, this is going to drag the rest of the market down. And Twitter has been pretty much a shit show fighting about it ever since. Including, we're seeing Pac-Man going back and forth with actual people on the pipe, like the Ears versus Wale. This isn't good. Pac-Man versus Wale. So yeah.
It's Whale.
Whale. I do it wrong every single time. I want to keep doing it every single time. I'm from DC, okay? It's Wale.
It sounds
W-A-L-E is
fancier.
Wale, okay?
You sound fancier,
Yeah,
like
that's
Wale.
okay.
Yes,
Yeah.
beautiful.
what's in your wallet?
Yeah.
Nice.
I'll keep saying I'm from DC, okay? Look it up. It's Wale, okay? Put it respect. So yeah, pretty curious about like what we think. Is this a good thing or is it a bad thing? And we have a couple people up here who actually have collections who have rare and like, you know, mid-rare traits, as people would say. And so do you think it's a good thing or a bad thing? So Bear Snake, what do you think?
Pretext is I don't really pay attention to Blur much. I think in general, maybe that's a bad thing. I don't know. I have people on our team that are much smarter than me when it comes to this kind of stuff. I think for me, it just feels like they're taking the attention off of the things that are being built. And I feel like they probably need to learn how to, respect all the things that drive their platform are, essential to them being, right? That's how they exist, because they're trading all of our collections. And so I think this idea of like finding a more appropriate relationship between the two is important. Just because you can figure out how to, take away royalties, should you, right? So that's my take.
Yeah, definitely. Like, one thing definitely is like they only focus on how to make money. And the platform is never trying to highlight art ever, right? Looking at art blocks on Blur, what are you talking about? Like, it's crazy. Like, it's the smallest images. Yeah. I click for the big one, and it's still super teeny.
Yeah.
I can't shop for aesthetics on Blur. That's not been their goal.
Everything's already over-financialized, and it just takes it like that much further. So,
yeah, totally. Kevin, curious what your thoughts?
Oh, Jesus. Is it, what kind of show is this? Do we talk shit or no?
We talk shit.
I mean, it is recorded, but
yeah.
feel free.
Can someone just clip out the bits and then just post it of whatever I said that makes the most chaos?
Yeah.
So, look at this tweet. Lending points never diluted points. Trading bidding does not dilute points either. This is like, I don't know. I'm so tired of this shit. It's just like treating art like commodities. Yep. I think it's horrible. It's horrible. Like, we were trying to figure out how we can block Blur in the long term. I would much rather upgrade our contracts, still charge 0% like royalties and block Blur than have this shit happen.
Because that's a good idea.
I just think it's treating art like it's just a stock or something high frequency trading stock, and I think this is going to end in tears for everyone. I don't know.
I agree. I think we were actually prepping for our 100 proof episode for tomorrow and thinking about topics, and this was one of them. And for me, I'm like, the same thing that it did for floors, it's going to do for now mid rares and even maybe rare rares, right? Like before, people weren't, if you had a rare or something that was like a one of one or something that people would want, you probably wouldn't put it on Blur because everyone is looking to sweep the floor, and if they're not sweeping, they're probably not going to grab yours on Blur. So you just put it on OpenSea, let it sit there, and maybe one day somebody will find it. And now it's going to incentivize people to put their rares on Blur, and now Blur is also incentivizing traders to like flip the rares, and so I think it's just going to kind of cascade down, and it's going to be mid rares or floors, rare rares or floors, like whatever can get the liquidity the quickest, like it's going to happen. So it sucks. It sucks. But I don't know. Good for whoever's making money, I guess.
I heard Patrick loves Blur.
Is your art even on Blur?
Oh God, no.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, like the problem is we were just talking about this earlier. You're always kind of fighting for the people on the fringes of this thing, and the thing is, the more sophisticated you make something like this, the more it's going to benefit the people that are professional. It's going to benefit this 3-4% of people that really know what they're doing, maybe have a background in trading derivatives, just know how to approach this in the most mathematically sound way, and they're going to crush everybody else. So what happens is all of the normal people end up getting destroyed by this, and you lose them, and it just keeps consolidating. And you have this hyper-competitive ecosystem of 10 people. And then at that point, it's all worthless. So it's just gonna eat itself out. And it's just really that. I mean, yes, everyone should be able to do what they want, and I'm a big fan of, not stepping in the way, but you just see how this works, and you create stuff like this that penalizes regular people at the expense of just the hyper sophisticated, and it's just not going to create an equitable ecosystem. So yeah, it's gonna break a lot of things.
Well, welcome to capital markets, right? Like NFTs are more than just a floor price or an offer. Just someone's listing price doesn't make it a value, and now you guys are finally getting some price discovery by way of bids, right? Someone is showing what they're willing to pay for an asset, and that gap is just going to close, and welcome to price discovery and equilibrium, right? So,
I don't think it's really price discovery, though, because they don't really want to sell or buy. They want to sit right there at that point and earn as many points as possible, because when somebody dumps into those bids, then they dump back in again, right? And that lowers the floor even further. So the people that are bidding don't actually want to hold those NFTs.
Yeah, they're just farming Blur tokens.
Right, so it's not really price discovery.
It's still... Finally, liquidity is provided in some way.
It's liquidity, for sure.
And it's being found out, like, exactly just what a bid is, right? What is someone willing to pay for this token? And that's all it is. There's still just numbers 1 through 10,000, and whether it has a trade or not, that's perceived value, right? Which is
It's almost like, actually, what is somebody willing to sell this token for? It's almost like, for whatever reason, in my mind, I just got like the concept of like gentrifying like a neighborhood, of like, offering, people who probably didn't have the chance to sell their like old shitty house at some point, and like just being like, oh, we'll take this whole block. Do you want it for like, we'll give you the cash right now. Go ahead and sell it, right? Like, people probably wanted more for it, but they needed the liquidity. So like, I don't know. It just feels it feels really not good.
I think this comes back on the projects though. I don't know. I came up playing poker, and what happened with poker is that Chris Moneymaker won, and he was this random internet person. All of a sudden, everybody dumped into playing online poker. And there was if you were halfway decent, you could make money back then, but then over time, everyone gets a lot better, and it just washes out a lot of people that couldn't cut it. So 10 years later, it is hyper competitive. And we're seeing that in a much more accelerated way in NFTs right now. And it just comes back, like the financialization, like there will just be a handful of people that are hyper sophisticated that win. The rest of them, I don't know, it comes back on the projects to actually create something that people want to hold actual real value in their normal world. Really, like that's what's gonna save NFTs, because if Blur didn't do it, it's gonna be somebody else. So you can't blame Blur for just giving the people what they want.
Yeah.
The people may not get a healthy thing, but people buy sugary stuff all day. So I mean, they're just doing what people want. You can't blame them for that. It just comes back on the projects to actually create something that is real, and actually deliver on some promises.
You can be angry about someone extracting culture, and you're right. Someone else would just do it if it wasn't them. But we can be angry about it, but you're right. It ends up coming back on people who are running projects to sort of prove the cultural value, right? Whether that's like, gaming or just pure art or collect or whatever kind of collectibles. I mean, they're extracting what's special about everybody sitting in this room, right? And people don't come here to talk about like trading derivatives. They're coming here because they feel like they're part of something. And so, yeah, I think it's like it's the influencers who are talking, right, and having like legitimate conversations and not just screaming at each other. It's projects that need to start delivering. I hate the word utility. I think talk about not having any culture in the word. But I think like the idea of like just creating experiences and like making people happy, like that's what needs to happen.
Well, it's about feedback loops, right? So right now, Blur put a feedback loop out for traders, right? Okay, I'm going to buy and sell NFTs. If I go on Blur, I'm getting something later. I'm part of season 2. I'm going to get some token drop. I know friends who made $1 million from that token drop. Guess what? I traded more than them. But I was trading on OpenSea, paying my royalties on purpose, like just to be a good person. And guess what? You got more from Blur. The problem is, so that we have one incentive out there, and then the other thing is not giving you incentive. Now, I think OpenSea doesn't need to give an incentive, but we can't have other personal projects say, okay, if you trade over here, we know where you're trading. It's on chain. That's the whole point of this. I can say, guess what? You get an advantage. Now, people can be upset. Oh, if I sold on Blur versus this, why don't I get an advantage? Well, it's because of all the reasons we're talking about. We think that we're supporting the industry going in one direction. So boom, you don't get invited to the party if you sell on Blur. No big deal. You can hold your Moonbird in your house alone. We're going to be at the party, but I don't really know.
Right. So that's another solution that Patrick's kind of already able to experiment with, because the supply is so low and he can DTC to his customers. So I'm curious for like other founders, what's the DTC solution? Like, are you guys working on, having an on-platform marketplace that allows you to make those choices without renewing your contracts? Or that's my question. That is there a DTC solution instead of just giving all the power to the exchanges?
I think the good news is that most of the Solidity developers that I know are all about the upgradable contracts now going forward. And so they're really, baking in the optionality of deciding what do we want to do, down the road. And the good news about Blur is they actually do enforce royalties as long as the other people do as well. So they have this like handshake agreement right now. So, you can right now, like one of our collections on the Mythics collection, royalties are being paid on Blur, right? So that's working, but it's not really all about the royalties though. I think that's just one small piece of it. It's more about just, how you're treating the art, and are you turning this into a commodity or not? And I really liked seeing some of these artists like, Tyler Hobbs with QQL and some of these others that said, we're going to put this into the contract to block some of these marketplaces and just have it be kind of an opt-in thing. I I worry less about like PFP related projects and more about individual artists. I loved that dream and that idea that artists would get, royalties in perpetuity for their art. I think, the days are gone of, 10% plus royalties. Like people are saying that's not really fair. And the nice thing about all this is it's programmable, right? Like I've always been in favor of saying like, if you're underwater and you lost money, why should you be paying royalties, right? Like have them wash away. We can write that into the code. And so I'm hoping it's a more thoughtful process as we evolve going forward.
Yeah, so I would say like I'm not anti-royalty, but I don't believe in enforcing them, right? Because it's a game of cat and mouse, and I don't want to play the game, truthfully, right? However, I do think platforms are deciding what they are enforcing and what they are supporting, and we want to support platforms. Like, who do I want to give my money to? Someone who is going to highlight art better, someone who's going to hopefully, like, even right now, if you look at OpenSea, a lot of times you see whatever's on the front page, it's not good. It ends up being like, it's like, how do they decide these things? I can't trust the OpenSea front page, and so it's like, should I give my money there? Blur, they're trying to like just, extract as much money as possible. If there was someone who's saying, hey, I go here, something's on the front page, it's not just like vetted, but it's interesting or something, like I would rather give my money. I shop at small boutiques because I can talk to the owner and I'm like, sick, awesome, you have cool, rare stuff, let's talk. Like that's a huge culture for a million people. We don't need Walmart of NFTs selling the most expensive stuff. Walmarts never sell luxury in my mind. Blur and OpenSea are Walmarts, so like where's the Gucci stores? Where's the Nordstroms?
I think
You don't like Walmart?
No, I don't shop at
It's
Walmart.
Target all the way, first of all.
Yeah, thank you,
Wale
thank
Mart.
you.
Oh my
I was
God.
gonna say, I think this is one of the
Amazing.
biggest parts about decentralization is like we can have conversations about this. Like we might not like how things are going. We want to see things be more artist centric, but there's also place for traders to be taking advantage of these opportunities. But we can sit here and it's like a morality game, right? It's like,
Yeah.
well, I'm gonna keep going to OpenSea because I want to pay royalties. We have that choice, but I'm curious what you all think. Is it like a community driven? It's like such a buzzword now, but is it on the community to make this change? Like, is it on the vegans of the world to be like, I'm gonna stick with OpenSea, or is this on the exchanges?
No,
I think it always has been.
But no, it's not about like this like morality thing. It's about making a cool place to go, right? You shop at small, skate shops. You shop at small streetwear shops because it's fucking cool. The employees who work there know about a lot of stuff, and they're fun to talk to. And the people that come in are cool. And when you're there, you meet random friends. I go into Walmart, I'm not making random friends, right? And yeah, you pay a premium for it. You pay a premium because one person is like expressing a vision and
make
building a
friends with the
community where you
ammo
can
guy.
come into. And it's not about like, oh, what am I gonna get? It's like, it's fun here. I don't make friends at Walmart. I've gone to so many like random, you go to Union, one nerd's like, oh my God, you like Visvum too? And boom, I have actual friends. Like,
Well,
that's,
I think it's like I think we're all kind of talking about the same thing here. Like, what's happening right now is everybody's facing the consequences of their choices. You catch what you bait for, and a lot of these projects start off with a small community because that's kind of who they're going for. But a lot of projects got their communities by saying, hey, I'm going to give you this amount of money. Hey, you're going to get this airdrop. You're going to get this. And all of a sudden you get a bunch of people join the community because of the financial incentives. So it is no surprise to anybody when they don't pay the royalties, because what got them there in the first place was, I'm going to make money off of this. So I think all these projects need to take a step back and say, hey, we're going to go through this painful readjustment process while we find people who actually want to be here for whatever the core value is of what we're doing. No, I don't think anyone should ever block a platform. No, I don't think anyone should ever enforce royalties. I think those things are contrary to like the very core of kind of the blockchain crypto ethos. What I think you need to do is figure out how to find your own like native community and not just go doing the easy thing for 2021, 2022, which was like, yeah, I will give you money if you join my project. Of course those people like are going to be a problem. Like, and now we're just kind of sorting that out right now. But I mean, just be honest about what got us into the situation, and be honest about, hey, how you can actually kind of get out of this and transition your projects and communities into something a lot more healthy.
Yeah, I mean, exactly what Bobby said, quite brazen. He just said, the art/PFP distinction here is the obvious one. Obviously, right? If we're talking about art, it makes sense to add some roadblocks in there to make things a little slower, make it easier to give your money and give your royalties to a single artist that you like and that you know exactly where it's going for. When you have a PFP, it feels like a Walmart no matter what. It feels like a Walmart product no matter what it is. even punks like NFT Stats, who is, our director of research, just posted this like crazy chart that showed punks going down the moment Blur opened up the ability to accept bids, right? Like for years and years and years, it's been a stable coin. And then the moment people could get liquidity, it dipped. And, like to what you were saying, maybe that's the market sort of discovering itself. But I think no matter what, even the top PFP of the most, incredible people, I don't know, whatever, like people have a high bar for punks, right? Even those guys are taking the money. They'll take the free money because they're not giving the royalties to a single person. They're giving it to this sort of larger conglomerate that I think will always have that. So I think that liquidity is not always a good thing. I think I've also heard this idea of like, if you could buy and sell a used Rolex super easily in that same way that we can with NFTs, like Rolexes wouldn't be expensive. Like it wouldn't, because I think that roadblock and those like sort of things that force people to have to make a decision to get there, to go buy it, make it worth it because you put in some effort. So I don't think that there's anything wrong with maybe, creating either your own platform or whatever to make it a little harder for the people who really want to do it to go in and buy it there.
I think that makes a ton of sense because historically, I mean, if I like to compare like real world scenarios with online and say, okay, what have we learned in the past? And your point about Rolex is a great one. Like you can't go to Walmart and buy a Rolex, right?
Yeah.
And so that's a blocked marketplace.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
so there's going to be art and collectibles and artists that come in and say, hey, I don't want my art represented in this way. And so I don't want it shown here, right? And so that's all it is when you block Blur, right? Is you're saying, I don't want my art shown here. And I don't think that's a bad thing. That should be up to the artist, right? And there's some artists that want to be at Walmart and want to do high frequency trading.
But
like
isn't
Godspeed.
that's
This
that's
person
all
is asking us,
entirely-
please stop referencing
That's all
Walmart.
entirely
Okay.
Why are you so upset about Walmart?
It's great. Hey, I threw it out. We're gonna keep saying Walmart. Okay? Also, Amanda threw out Rolex, and I was like, oh my god, guys, you do realize that Kevin helped
I am
found
talking
Houdini,
to
okay?
Kevin.
You do
Yeah.
realize that he knows more about watch than all.
Why are we talking about selling Rolexes in a store though? This is not. Why are we bringing old world comparisons to blockchain, where we're trying to make a permissionless system?
Well,
and
you were
have
also just
people
making like
have freedom
we can
to
learn
do with
from
the
our-
assets
Wait.
that they
Valuable
have.
stuff is
Here,
rare right
right?
now. Rare art blocks. The Goose is selling. It's not selling all the time. Everything you want that is significantly desired in like the art world, it is rare. You just can't buy it right away. So in the Rolex world, there's going to be barriers because a lot of people who are into any trading scene care about who it goes to. I'm a collector. I sell to collectors. I collect clothing. I'm not going to sell my Visvum collection to some nerd who's going to post some terrible fits. Right? I'm checking what it looks like first.
There's the opposite side to this. I would argue that art right now would not exist in its current form if it wasn't because of the liquidity you can get from it very easily. Because the problem with art collecting is that basically if you're collecting a piece of trad art, you can't go sell what you buy unless you have something. Unless you spend $100,000 on a piece of art, there isn't going to be a gallery that's going to want to say, hey, I'm put this on the wall, I'll sell this for you. Also, I'm going to take 40% of that. So if you're buying art basically less than $100,000, you're buying that because you love the art and you have no real ability to ever actually sell that in the future. You can't really speculate on that. You're just like getting that, putting it on your wall and just like enjoying it. But because of all this liquidity that artists have right now, I can go buy a piece of art that I like, and I know that I can get at least some part of that back pretty quickly, which allows me to spend a little bit more than maybe I otherwise would have on the art. It also lets other people do that, and all of a sudden, you have art prices right now that reflect the fact that people can actually get money out of it. The art market would not be what it is right now. You wouldn't have the small middle collectors that make up the core of who buys NFT art if it wasn't for the liquidity. So that liquidity in this segment that never had liquidity before has enabled an entire generation of people to become art collectors. And that's one of the biggest things that came out of our space. So I feel like it's getting a little conflated with like the PFP thing and the art thing, but liquidity for art has been probably the biggest driver of adoption, both as collectors and as artists being able to make a living or a substantial contribution to their living out of this space.
Fair
Agree.
point.
No, actually, that kind of actually totally relates back to Rolex, right? Rolex is an example of a watch. I know if I buy it, like I'm going to maintain its value, and that helps me collect more, right? I know if I'm going to get into this, esoteric version of Rolex, like cool. At least when I get out of this, I didn't go up crazy. I'm getting kind of my money back. So that definitely makes me feel comfortable collecting, right? If I go into a hobby, being able to exit, that's beautiful. So actually, Patrick, let's kind of relate. We were going to bring it because, Patrick every week likes to tweet something to cause some controversy, 581 likes. And it kind of relates to this. And since we are moving more into the art topic, and like Moonbirds is the art collector PFP.
Let's go.
So Patrick tweeted.
We don't say it's one of.
One of, okay,
Yeah.
okay. I gave him the V.
I gotta change that on the
We got to
website.
change it on that website.
One
yeah.
of the art collectors.
So Patrick tweeted out, we don't need more prestigious galleries. We need to fight for an ecosystem that doesn't require them.
Let's go.
I don't know what that means. What does that mean, Patrick? I'm trying to get my art in galleries. What are you talking about? Patrick's in galleries and it's like, I don't need them anymore. Like, I'm in no galleries, man. My art is going for 0 ETH. So like,
Yeah, didn't you say that
Defend
you
yourself.
had you declined a Nike partnership on July 4th?
I said no to Nike.
You said no to
yeah.
Nike.
See, this is the
He's all about
problem. You guys
online,
don't
so-
need prestigious galleries. Nike's asking me, and I'm turning them down. I'm being serious, Patrick. Okay, so what do you got to say?
Look, I feel like, you just see people level up and sell out. You see people just level up and then all of a sudden, like, Gucci comes along, they're like, oh, that looks fun. Or Nike comes along, you're like, great, that looks good. Or Sotheby's comes along and all of a sudden you're the biggest Sotheby's fan. It's just not the way. I mean, we have the community, we have the resources to build something that's decentralized, like on the ground, flat, more equitable, more accessible, more inclusive. And I feel like every time we take a step back and say, you know what, I still really respect the Gagosian. I really want to get my work over at pace. I feel like you take something out of what we're building here. We are building something cool. Just have faith in that. And I feel like, yes, do they have a role? Sure. Like, yeah, I can help some artists that can't market. Cool, do that. I mean, but do we need more? Probably not. And do we need a space where it's not required? Yeah, I think that would be really healthy. I'd be really healthy if we could just continue this just on our own merit. And, that's going to grow it. That's more accessible to people. So, yeah, I don't think we need them. And I was just annoyed just seeing how many people are talking about brands and galleries recently.
And I think in the same way, a lot of artists have come into this space, right? Because we were tired of the art world. We were tired of the traditional art world. So if we're coming into this digital space, like, we don't want them again. We don't want them back here again.
And people
That's
are
just my 2 cents.
People are complaining about OpenSea taking a couple points here or there. These galleries are fleecing people. Like, we don't need 50% players anymore.
We were tired of them, and that's why we came into this. That's why we started making NFTs, because we didn't want the traditional art world. And they saw us making money, and they came here after us.
So in 2021, it was like, a very big fluke. And, that's not really going to happen anymore. And a lot of liquidity was coming into this place. You could take a picture of your toilet with something in it, and you could probably sell it on the blockchain. And some people did. And I
Poopin' ladies, anyone remember?
You're going to talk about
Poopin'
Marcel
ladies,
Duchamp
let's
like
go.
that? He's one of the most important artists ever to live. So.
don't let me lose my point here. Hold on.
Lost him.
Sometimes
He's
I go-
gone. He's gone.
Got him.
It's the thing is that we have the ability to adapt. Like, if you're a founder and you're still using the old, the tenets of, like, get your collection. I'm talking about PFPs here, not just regular collecting art. And you're saying, here's a big collection, here's the mint date, and here's a big whitelist giveaway. That doesn't work anymore. And so we're still, and these marketplaces are adapting to the way. It's like a two-way street. They're looking at the way we trade, and a lot of us aren't good traders. But if you were in 2021, you thought you were a good trader because you got lucky because you picked up a monkey JPEG casino, remember? And
my God.
And so we have the ability to adapt. Do we adapt well? I think we would benefit. Content creation is basically becoming your own studio. And so creating your own marketplace. I'm not saying everybody's a great market. I wouldn't know how to, to push that or advertise that, but, like, bring it back to our hands. This is what we're here for, really. Yeah, we're here for money, most of us, I get it, but like really, we're going back to Danny's thing, like we're falling on old paradigm still. It's we have the power.
Okay, well, Troy,
So-
we're following an old paradigm's way because Gagosians, these people, Pace, they lifted up artists when no one else cared, right? These aren't people who were out there just purely extracting money. Yes, they're making money from art. They are also people who went out and actually supported new artists and built up careers. And these are the people, I have great respect for them because where are you going to see art without them? Right? Oh, yeah, now they're survived. They're the big old people, and you're like, let's hate them.
They sold a lot of art for people that had MFAs from Yale, family in the art world, and just a lot of really good connections. That very inclusive for the top 1%.
Do you not think that we have that now, though? Of course we do. Of course we do.
We have a better meritocracy
It's
with this
easier.
space and a more inclusive, more accessible.
But-
and I feel like we
So-
can't lose that in building what we build.
Well,
Wait, Mike.
I
Hold
have
on.
more of a question or thought. Help me reconcile the previous conversation we just had with your point here, because we have situations like Blur where they're commoditizing NFTs, and then this idea that I remember the conversation 6 months ago with all the marketplaces out there is artists want to create art, they don't want to deal with it, so they love having a marketplace. But now we're going to a future state where the artists need to create their own marketplace. How do you compete with a Blur that's commoditized the product where the high-end artists win, but what about all the other artists in this sort of decentralized world where art is now commoditized? And the analogy for me as a podcaster is Spotify and YouTube dominating that market. It'd be great to band together all the podcasters and Rug Radio is doing some cool things in that area, but it's very challenging to fight the system.
I think we've talked about this before. I think a sub point is like, should all artists have to be a great business person, right? I mean, most of the artists that I know don't, like, they're part of the brain that like is like organized, and I'm gonna like promote myself, I'm gonna go on social media, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. Like, they're not wired like that, right? That's why they can like create the way they create. And some people like Patrick, because you're a giga brain and clearly very smart, and like right left brain, but like you can manage that and like navigate that, but not a lot of artists can do that. Now, that doesn't mean that like it should just be these like 10 important galleries that are hosting, right? I think it's a hybrid. I mean, the other thing is like people, you look at like the percentage of people that walk into the door of a gallery, they're not artists, and even more so, they're not buyers. They're just trying to experience culture and art and like hear the story that the artist is telling. So like for me, I'd be sad if some of these artists that are coming out of our space don't get the opportunity to present in a physical space and tell their story to people that can't afford to buy their art. And and so I think it's a hybrid, right? I think you need both. It's just a balance.
And I would use a new analogy other than Walmart. Let's talk about the coffee industry, right? Like, it was all about independent coffee shops. Then there was a Starbucks effect, and then the independent coffee shops came back, and then Blue Bottle got bought by Nestle for $1 billion. And the cycle keeps repeating.
It was 450 million. It wasn't a billion.
I think he was involved in that, okay? So, just so you know.
Fair enough.
I like the rounding up, though. It was good.
But it was a good amount of money. And I guess my concern there is just like, how does that relate to your point, Patrick? Not because I admire the fight for the ecosystem, and I'm just trying to figure out how do we not slip into that cycle.
Well, I think I agree with both of your points. Like, different artists need different things, right? And so different artists need different levels of service, and a lot of them aren't good marketers, right? It does take both at this early stage to figure it out. But that's the thing; it'll develop organically. I would love to see more platforms or curated niches, more art writing, just more people focused on specific genres. Emerging organically, as opposed to, it's more about the worship of the top, right? Like, how do I get into Gagosian? How do I get into Pace? How do I get Christie's to notice me? And then just, you kind of just throw all the Web3 ethos out the window when they say like, you, and you just start seeing everyone fanboy over them. It's not like, it feels very disingenuous and it feels very counterproductive. Do I think some artists need more, and that's fine? Yeah, absolutely. I would like to see a more decentralized system. If our space continued from 2021 and we didn't have all those external macro events that just broke everything, we would have the worst ecosystem. And it'd be super rare, would be the sole arbiter of all good art, and it would be literally two people picking who's a good artist and who's not. And that's a terrible situation. So I'm glad they fell apart. So we can have a lot of other galleries, emerge, in their ashes.
Yeah.
So one question here, you said we don't need more prestigious galleries. I don't feel like we're getting more of those. Like there hasn't been any really, like if anything, we need more bright moments, right? We need more authentic experiences where up and coming artists can showcase their art. It's like, but the prestigious galleries are, in my mind, they're just sitting on the side. They're old school. And like, if they're going to sell a goose for $6 million and bring in and 1,000 old, sadly mostly white collectors are like, oh, what are these NFTs all about? Like, God bless. Like, bring more like people and eyes and attention on NFTs. Like, they have an audience, and if they can like lift up NFTs, it makes our job when we're fighting all of the other shit about whether it be wallets getting hacked or people getting scammed or you name it. Like, we need good news stories. And so when I see something like that happening where a Christie's or Sotheby's gets involved, I'm like, actually, I'm kind of like, thank you for like at least telling the story of these artists and bringing some other people in a time where we're getting beat up on the other side of this. Mm-hmm. And so it's I don't know, I see it as a value add. And I think that the new up and coming galleries like are going to be more nimble. They're going to be more Web3 native, and they're just going to out innovate the shit out of these old school companies. So I'm not worried about that as much, but would love your take on that.
And they'll
as well.
probably reduce their
exactly
take
that?
of the artists. They'll
Can we
probably
do
learn to
exactly
like
that?
reduce
Well,
that.
they did.
Yeah,
To further
we're
expand
trying
on
to.
Kevin's point,
Yeah.
Sotheby's in this last Grails 2 sale gave commissions to the art blocks artists.
There we go.
They kept the royalty in the sale. I think it's the first time we've seen that. So Web3 is making these big powerhouses adjust to our, markets.
I think like Kevin said, I agree with you on the point. I want to see a hybrid system. I like the bright moments. I like the smaller galleries coming up. And, they pivoted to a niche around generative art. Cool. I want to see more small people come up and pivot to different niches around very specific things.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like a traditional gallery system,
Yeah.
but just kind of native to our space.
Like brain drops, essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah, but what's interesting is
I think-
people can't even compete anymore with bright moments. People are priced out. Even people like me have been collecting art blocks since the beginning. Every single time they do a drop, it's now.
Well, then you're not
too
priced out if
expensive.
you've been collecting since the beginning.
Well, I know.
He just won't sell. He won't sell.
matter of
I'm not-
choice.
Look at his
Sell,
shoes.
sell.
Look at his shoes. Let's
Go
see
to
your
Blur.
shoes. Let's see your shoes. Let's see your shoes. Those are
I'm
from
not
the
comfortable
Denza
spending
man.
He's
Let's
got
go.
Fidenza
Those
Vans.
are-
Oh,
You do not
son,
want to
yeah.
talk about Rosenbaum about his Fidenza
You're
story.
not
How
priced
many
out.
did
You're
he
not
miss?
priced out.
Don't talk to him. He's got nasty art block stories that will make your blood
It's
curdle.
funny that you talk about this though, because like Bright Moments is like one of the most e-liquid collection, like set of collections ever. But the floor is still doing pretty good. Like, it's because the people don't really quite need it. It's okay to have a little bit of like friction there because the people who are collecting and not necessarily reselling in any sort of short period of time feel really good about it. Like they feel good about that art.
Yeah,
That's the-
I think real artists are resilient, and that's it. We're gonna stay
Yeah.
here, and maybe 2021 is gonna happen again, and then we're gonna come up again.
Y'all still didn't
2021's
shoot
never
us
happening
right, though.
again.
It's never.
Well, I will
gonna
say,
happen
if
again.
you look at like parts of New York, you walk through Chelsea and you're like gallery, 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 and it's not like what's your niche, what's your niche. It's like, hi, my name's Megan, my niche is the art I like, right? And like you get to see a bunch of different people curate these awesome experiences, and it's not supposed to be the biggest, best thing in the world. When I go buy a piece of art there, I'm not like, I've hitched my horse the right cart here and I'll make a ton of money here. So I think we need to see people put up galleries where it's like not as serious, not as like, you don't need to be the mind-blowing this or that. You know what I mean? Gagosian's one dude, right? It's a family. It's not like I'm a genius. It's one person and then now he's huge and the whole family is huge, right?
Yeah.
But
I think a good example is Manifold. They really gave the key to like the artists to mint their own art on their own contract. That was really cool, and they're not after the money, and that was like a key thing. So that's what I'm saying, like real artists are resilient. Yes, we need to make money, we need to pay our bills, but we're also here to make art and give our message to the world.
Yeah,
that's a challenging thing.
But at the same time, I just wanted to point out there that like, no matter what, I think no matter what niche you're in, Web3 communities are known to be passionate. And talking with people like AliExpress from Alibaba, they recognize that people are zealots and passionate and fanatics about their niche in Web3, and they're looking to leverage that from outside of Web 2. Or from Web 2, so I should say.
Are we
So-
going deeper, like way worse than Walmart? We're gonna go Alibaba. We're gonna go
Yeah,
extra.
wait,
I said
that's
Walmart.
right.
again.
Real quick,
I said
real quick.
Walmart again.
But-
I said it. I
But
said
the-
it. What can
but
you say?
the theme here is passion, and people are passionate about
yeah,
Web3.
yeah.
So if you can find that niche, you're gonna find the people in Web3 to guide to that experience. You know?
100%.
I think people are more than just passionate in this space. If you have passion, you don't have very much. If you've got devotion and you've got commitment, you've got what it takes.
Cue the music trick. Okay. So this does actually maybe relate to another thing I actually did want to talk about, because we actually have two people on stage who have like kind of done something that we've been seeing a lot, which is like video campaigns on Twitter where we're encouraging people to, interact. Troy is the #1 biggest star of these, right? Doing like, I don't know, bathing as a Taproot wizard.
I haven't
eating-
seen him make a jelly video, though.
Yeah, so like we're seeing a couple people do this. So one, I think Taproot wizards were first, was like dress as a wizard and you get the allow list. Then who was doing the pizza one? Someone was
Oh
doing
yeah, the pizza one was amazing.
That's Trevor BTC.
Oh, that's right.
Trevor.btc.
Boom, Trevor
The pizza
BTC, yeah, exactly. Make a wizard video. Then I saw Moonbirds. It wasn't even for an allow list, but the Face the Dread was a similar thing. It was like, hey everyone, be creative, put yourself out there, talk about something, do some production, and then boom, all of a sudden I'm worshiping a jelly donut. So this is kind of like a thing that you don't see in any other community, like ever. I don't think this is a thing you've seen of all time. So we have two people who have kind of done them. So I wanted to talk about, well, first, how'd Face the Dread come up, Kevin? And then why are we worshiping jelly donuts, Bearsnick? So
I mean, the jelly donut one's way better.
Yeah, I
but,
want to
like,
know. About
I don't
this.
know. This is scaring
one's
my
so
family.
scary.
I showed them, and they said, "This is what you're working on," and I'm like,
It's fucked
"It's
up.
important." Yeah. So,
It gets worse than that.
but yeah, this is
Well, not bad.
But do you
Rooms are
see,
next level.
This is
Scary.
we're
I
in-
mean, this could be a cult / a PFP collection eventually. Like this.
My
could be
partner
huge.
was like, he was running, Dota was running the account. He was like, can someone take over the account? I can't fall asleep tonight.
It's amazing.
Yeah. So I just super. I mean, this is like super interesting. Both of you guys have like kind of engaged in this in some ways. It's truthfully a brand new thing in social media altogether. So yeah, like I'm just curious how you came up to it, and yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Amanda, you can chime in on this too, but I mean, for us internally, it's like if you're a builder in this space, and this goes out to all builders, like you're feeling it right now, right? And so you're definitely feeling it, and if you're a collector, you're feeling it too. And so it's one of those things where the Dread is kind of like our version of FUD internally, and it was baked into like the lore that we did around this new Mythics launch. And Colin just had a really our kind of like head illustrator, one of our two primary illustrators, had this like very personal story about how he got rejected for all of his like illustration work, and as an artist how he's been rejected so many times, and it just kind of got baked into this thing like, let's tell our stories about how we've been through some tough shit together and really get personal, and people loved it.
It's not as fun as stabbing a jelly donut.
No.
No, but I think you're right. Like I see what you're doing, Began. You're trying to make that connection here, and I feel that. I think it's really sort of important to capture people who are here right now and really sort of celebrate that like deeper engagement for the folks who are here right now. And I think that's what we're starting to see in all these other projects. You know, you have to do a little bit more effort. You have to put in a little bit more work now because we have nothing else to do, right? Like, so we might as well.
Totally.
No, but so one of these things just kind of came naturally as we are launching our Mythics project. One of the things that kind of worked really well was this behind the scenes series called Mythic Chronicles. And it follows a lot of the people in our office, but specifically Colin, who's here in Los Angeles and a former, Nickelodeon, Disney, Pixar, whatever, illustrator. And we started doing these behind the scenes videos that was supposed to just be about the process. And I think we started seeing a little bit of the heart behind the story and about what we were doing. And he told us the story last week in our proof offsite about the day that he faced the Dread, the day that he pitched his story to Nickelodeon, and the woman was like, "What are you even doing here?" And they just completely broke him and he was like broken for months and
She
months.
said, "You don't
because he
belong
put
in this business," and like just like
exactly.
like,
It was a
hardcore.
really,
It's
really
the
intense.
worst pitching shows.
And so the idea of kind of still having that passion inside of you to continue on, to keep building, to keep creating something artistic, I think is something that we should all encourage, right? And so people just really vibed with it, and we wanted to see if anyone would just kind of get on the mic and just talk about the time that they ever felt fear or uncertainty or doubt about something and what it means to kind of get up and keep going. And it just went like, it just hit a lot of people, and they wanted to come out.
It's because it's not a Moonbird story; it's a Web3 story. It's
Exactly.
like the
It's a
point
life
is like
story, yeah.
we all feel like there's something special here. We all feel like we're still early.
Yeah.
And we just got to keep pushing forward because we know like things are going to change in the next 6 months to a year. Like more and more people will eventually get the hint, and that's why I'm still here. Like I believe nothing is broken about the underlying technology. I've said that a bunch of times. Like this is very sound technology. Like the fact that we're able to do this is amazing. And so I'm very excited. To keep
Shout out to
going.
David who did one, and his was beautiful.
Oh,
and
nice.
so I just love
We'll
it.
have to see
Shout
it.
out to
We'll have to see
David.
it. Yeah. You know what I love about these videos and stuff, and there's no promise of whitelist for these
No,
things.
this one isn't.
But what I see these as is that I mean a lot of these people that are doing these are not, they're very introverted. They don't want to show their face, and some of them have been ninjas and wizards, so they can hide their face, but they're doing something forced out of their their own comfort zone, and with the hope of possibly getting it. And that to me is like a two-way street of like interviewing. The project is like interviewing you, testing their ground, and then you're doing that. Like, oh my God, I think we hit like lightning in a bottle, And what I'm seeing from some communities, like I'm deep into ordinals now. I haven't left ETH. I'm just building. I know my ETH. Okay.
The door's over there.
Is that the other day? I won't name the project because this ain't a shill space. Is that they texted me through Discord. I was already in the Discord, and they said, "Are you ready for your our call?" And I go, "Oh shit, this is I like this project." And I forgot that I had signed up for this thing, and it was just a talk about the project. And I mean, if you have 1,000 people at a web, let's call it Web 2 party, and you had a big rake of like a Web 3, I'm gonna pull in all the guppies, all these people, and you're gonna get 3 people. So for this one-on-one 15-minute call, if you want to get to know me and I get to ask questions about you, I'm in. I don't know what the project's promising, but I'm in already. Because it's really, to me, at the end of the day, the best value you can have in this space is the people that you meet. And if you build a project, I've said this many times on Space, if you build a project and it finds lightning in a bottle, then that's just cake, and that's great. So I really applaud this. This might be the meta and whatever, and we're chasing it. But the great thing is that we can adapt. You at the same time can be a founder, and you can get so fucking fudded your project hasn't even dropped. And it's so unfortunate, but you can adapt. As opposed to a television show, I'm in the look at me business. So if I'm doing funny videos and I'm gonna jump in the shower and eat a pizza or whatever, that is my art because I do it very well. I do it very funny. That's the gift that I
we
have.
know, Trey. We know. We've seen the IMDb.
Yeah,
okay?
and that isn't a shill. That's just fucking. I know what I'm doing. I've earned it. I've earned my credits and whatever.
Well, like,
but
so
I
real quick,
appreciate
so
that. Anyway,
one thing that we don't do a lot, obviously, NFT is an online sport, right? We are in Discords, and a lot of us have multiple Discord names. We're on Twitter. A lot of us have a lot of Twitters. We're on Twitter Spaces. And we are not interacting with one-on-one. I've had so many times where people have met me and they're like, "You're not mean." And I was like, "Oh my God, I'm mean?" And I'm like, because on Twitter Spaces, the only thing I'm trying to do is be like, "I disagree. I have a good point." No one wants to hear you on a Twitter Space say, "I agree with everyone." You're like, "Get off." If I'm on Twitter and I'm like, "I agree with the main," no one cares, right? So online, even what our value is what's unique about us, which does like create friction and whatnot. But then, boom, you meet someone in person, you're like, "Oh my God, I love talk." Bear Snake and I love arguing with Bear Snake. It literally, I want to argue about everything. And I never feel any ill will because I've met him in person. But when it was just online, I'm like, that jerk.
We also agree on everything.
Yeah, we agree on a lot of
You know
stuff.
what this really gets into is like the buzzword which was community. Like a lot of these projects, a lot of these artists, I started collecting their work or started fucking with them because I genuinely liked them as a person, and then they were talented as fuck. I'm like, this this is clearly one of those examples. You know, it's like this petty person at Nickelodeon that thought they were a fucking gatekeeper was like, you're not meant for this shit, and like, look at him now shining.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about Web3. Like, it brings back. I love this. I can't wait to watch more of it. But I think it brings back that cornerstone of this industry, which really is like, we're community centric, we're people first, and you know, back to the first conversation we had, that's got lost in the sauce of like, fuck royalties, like I'm just trying to make money.
Totally. But at the same time, though, this video right here, I didn't make a face that I've not made a jelly donut video or a face the dread video. This is too much for me. I'll be emotional on stage, but I couldn't do this alone. I don't know.
But this is a different thing, right? This is coming from the project. This is coming from the company telling an inside story. It's not necessarily comparable, right? I think this is like.
No, there was like a campaign to get you to do your own version of it.
I'm saying exactly these things.
They're just different.
Which one works for you? Like, what is the way you can express yourself?
Right.
This thing, a lot of us are like, I'm on Twitter and I'm like trying to make a name for myself. I'm trying to find a community. What's the version that I can show myself? Oh my God, goofy donut video. I can do that. And you're like, ooh, emotional video. Someone else is gonna be like, I can't do goofy. I'm not goofy. I am serious. Boom. Face the dread's good. I'm a goofball. Finally, donut worshiping video. That's good for me, right? It's like people putting out like, you know, rope for you to be able to like, you know, build something that's works for you.
Right.
Wait, this is a sub 1K ordinals thing?
Yeah.
Oh, it's
where's the
absolutely
donut?
insane.
Who wants a donut? Who wants to do a donut video?
No, but real
Let's
fast.
do
I mean,
it.
just to double
I'm
back
ready.
on what you guys were saying, I think, you know, we're seeing the effects of projects not caring about who's coming in, right? I think it's a project founder's responsibility to curate the people that are coming into their house. This is hilarious.
What is going on? This is
and so
Why are they all so dark?
Yeah,
it's like security
bloody
camera
and
footage.
shit.
They
Like,
like
why
this
are they
is
all
like scary.
No, but my point is if you curate the people that come into, if you don't just let everybody in your fucking house, what happens when you let everybody in your house? Like someone fucking sets fire to it and it goes away, right? And so it's the long-term play. It's the idea of like, okay, maybe 90% of the people who are, you know, moving volume on NFTs just are here for financialization, and that's fine. They play an important part. But like for us personally, we always over-index and focus on that 10% of people who are actually here, and it's paid off for us because we're fine, we're comfy, we have people who are participating, and it's like you build that moat, you make people build a bridge and prove that they like understand what you're doing and they want to be a part of what you're building. That's how you sustain and make it through the desert.
Yeah.
And jelly donuts.
Yeah, totally agree with Bear. Spending a lot of time in the Wizards community, you see these new members, potential new members, hopefully they come into our community, creating these videos, and it's how a younger generation talks to each other through video. And similar to what Began was saying is you still, you know, for the time being, it's hard to fake authenticity on video.
Yeah.
For the time being.
Unless you're an actor like Troy, who's just
Right.
getting on every allow list ever.
Yeah.
But you can see like the creative potential behind a lot of these people who showed up for the potential project, but they see that there's a community of creators and they want to be a part of it.
Yeah.
And the easiest way to do it is just pick up your phone and put your face on the
Yeah.
phone. Similar to what Moonburst is saying, just tell your real story to the phone, and there you go.
And the other part of it, right? It's not just that piece. The other side of it is, you know, I'm partners with, I think, a mega giga brain Dota, right? And he was smart enough. He was like one of like the first like 10, 20 coders that were like understood what was going on with ordinals. And he like called me and Alf, our other partner, at like 8 o'clock at night. And he was like, you know, I think we should probably like inscribe something under 1,000. I think that's probably something. And so it took his hindsight and his understanding of, and like being on the front edge of technology paired with this, then all of a sudden you're like building something special.
Totally. Yeah, actually, and that actually does bring, I got two more topics I want to bring up before we end here. And I don't have actually a link for it, because one is we actually had some kind of big collecting news, which was FX Hash is now doing ETH and Tezos, it's pretty awesome to see, right? Like they're a platform that has grown a huge collector base and like really established Tezos as a place where you can like collect and buy art. And then now moving into ETH, like I don't know how to exactly feel about it, but I thought it's interesting, especially since I remember I bought my first Lucretia, right, in Grails, and it was like that was his first ETH piece, right? And like,
was it? Wow.
Yeah, I think that was his first. Was that
I
not?
believe you.
think
I
it
believe
was.
you.
might be
I believe
wrong.
you. No.
I
I
need
believe
Eli
you.
out here. But yeah, like interesting that we're seeing
watching.
platforms
He's
now
watching.
expand chains. I know Patrick recently, his art show apparently is like any chain. That's not true though. Not any chain, right?
Yeah.
Cardano.
Doge?
Doge.
Let's go.
All you have to do is share your art and a link to your art. It could be on any chain, any platform. It doesn't matter. All the art gets displayed equally. Art name, that's it. Unless you click on it and then you can go find it. But no, I think the future is multi-chain. I think that we've way over prioritized.
Haven't I been saying
ETH
this?
is great. I think ETH is the most likely to last. I think that's an important part of it. But I think we've gone overboard, and I think that it's not inclusive. And I think that a multi-chain ecosystem is far more accessible, far more easy to grow. And again, like you'll get far more people at the fringes to come into the space and create art and collect art if it is, a broader, more open space. So So I love this from FX Hash. I feel like that's just a nice step
Speaking
forward.
of which, I must say this week's poster is available on multi-chain holograph open edition.
Where is
Minting
it?
is live now. It's free.
Oh my God, I had a link to it and I can't find it anymore. I thought it was
It's
on this big list here.
OE.
Okay, Rosemont, can you find that? Can you send it to
Wait,
Rosemont?
let's
We'll
see
find
it. Trick, can you show us what?
It's
what we
it's
minted?
Kevin's bird. Don't worry, Kevin. It's free. We're not making money from it. CCO.
Zero.
We know. We
Zero.
know.
This is a point.
If you
This
go,
is
if
the
you
point I was
actually,
trying to make.
if you just go, actually, what am I saying? Go to Beacon. Look at its pin. Scroll down a little bit. Boom! There it is. Look at the CCO swelling in the chain. There we go. Yeah. Trying to go multi-chain. Yeah, so curious, Kevin, Amanda, like, you guys have been pulling over, like, multi-chain artists. That's, like, one of the things I've loved about Grails is people, like, I really do feel like a couple people have, like, leveled up being a part of Grails and being like, oh, wow, I'm not a Tezos artist. I'm a whatever. I'm an artist. And so, yeah, how do you guys think about multi-chain stuff?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I've been collecting multi-chain for a long time. Like Tezos back in the day, some early John stuff with all the J's. John, which is one of my favorites. And then, Solana, obviously. So I'm not a maxi on any chain. Let the art like dictate where I go and spend my time. I thought some of the Hin stuff very early on was just awesome.
Totally.
It was so difficult to use and confusing that it made you feel kind of underground in a way. You're like, oh shit, like if I can figure this out, like I kind of feel like it's like ordinals now, right? Like it's like you have to figure it out to be cool.
Yeah.
And so we're down with whatever. We're not maxis.
I mean, I'm a big Tezos fan, or I used to be more so than when I got.
To be.
Oh shit!
It's not that It's not
Tezos
that I
is over.
haven't.
Tezos is over.
Listen. It's not that I'm not a fan anymore. I'm just like I haven't bought anything in a while. I think the last thing that I bought was actually kind of recent, like Blockchain Automaton by whatever. Anyway, I like Tez. I'm a big Tez fan. I think FX Hash as a generative platform is super legit and introduced me to a lot of artists that I could never collect. Like I probably have way more Yazid's than anything else, any other artist that I have, and 90% of it is on Tez because I could actually afford it. So like
that's where I found my pawn was like on there.
Dragons. Dragons is still the cheapest thing that you can get. Yeah. And so I think that I'm bullish on exposing more of the ETH side to Tez. I don't know what's going to happen as it sort of dilutes Tez, right? Like if you could buy on and that's already happening right now with FX Hash. You can buy with ETH and you can buy with a credit card now. So it just seems like they're kind of removing Tez from even being relevant. So it might just be like you can mint on Tez, but you can just sell it on ETH, and it will always be on ETH, and no one will ever remember that it was ever on Tez, and it's fine. And then, I don't know if that's gonna happen. Like,
really
I wonder
sad story
what
all of a sudden.
I'm sorry. I love it. We love Tez, but again, we've got L2s now. We've got other things that are, and we've got super cheap ETH art. Like ETH is free now. You can buy art blocks for 0.02 now, so it has nothing to do with cheap art anymore. And then after what was it called? Whatever the thing. Now ETH is a lot more economic. Green is a lot more green now. So Tez is not a problem. It's not like the main solution anymore. So I think this is a really great idea. I think FX Hash will definitely stay a little bit more relevant now because of all of this. I just don't know about the long-term, capabilities of Tez. And I want that to happen, but L2s and Arbitrum and all this other stuff is coming. And so I'm just not sure.
Yeah, interesting. Actually, it's funny. Like, now that I know you're not on anymore, I'm selling my entire bag. You heard that, John? Okay. See, his name's John of Tezos. That's how dedicated he is.
It's one of the primary concerns about collectors coming into the space, is the timelines are just so much greater than what we have. I mean, early to us was 2 years ago.
Yeah.
You know, and a lot of the collectors have 100, 200-year time horizons. I mean, these things are part of
200.
Yeah, significant. Like some of the Saudi Arabian and Peruvian.
Got it.
They're legitimately like their estate plans are hundreds of years.
I'm an ETH maxi, but
Congratulations.
Thank you.
It's like AA.
Very good.
I do have a question for Kevin. Why did you make the Moonbirds CCO after releasing them? Like, took you a while.
That has nothing to do with
you know,
ETH,
like you
though.
released
It's
them
cool.
and then you made them CCO.
Yeah.
Why did you do them at that time?
I'm going to interrupt this with a passionate interruption. She's not a plant. We didn't hire her.
No, it's all good. It's all good.
I love ETH.
Well,
I love
Kevin's answered this
multi-chain.
question
By the way,
40 times,
Kevin,
so-
why?
Yeah.
What about
It's
CC0?
a softball.
And how many times have you answered this, Kevin?
At least 50.
CC0.
50. He's got
I want to
50.
hear your response.
Let's hear it.
Sure. Happy to. So, I mean, there's two worlds of thought here when it comes to IP. I during this time, you may remember that Xcopy made an announcement saying that every single piece of my art is going CC0, and nothing about his prices dropped at all. It was just because you were there for the art, you loved it. And one of the things that I've always loved about ETH and crypto, and why I've been in it for a long time, over 10 years, is that this idea that we don't have to rely on government agencies to tell us what to do and what's right. Like the token is the true source of truth in terms of what I actually own. And so it was just very confusing to me back then. Well, not confusing, but it was what I loved about what Xcopy did is he put a flag on the ground and said, it's actually about the token at the end of the day. And so, and the remix culture was just starting to spin up. So you could take, the bet was one of two ways. It was one of two paths. It was either as a collection, you're betting that you can monetize it through IP rights in the traditional methods. And so you want to become the next Disney or whatever it may be. And I'm not saying there's any wrong answer here. Like different collections, our next collection, Mythics, is going to be full IP rights. So people can do whatever they want with it on that side of the house. Or the other bet is saying that I believe that the memification and this idea that there can be proliferation of the artwork through the remix culture will lead to more eyeballs on this project. And that ultimately it'll be worth more because more people see it and it becomes more a part of culture. And so, it was a bet. It was in when we originally set up Moonbirds, we kept the optionality, as do most collections out there, and that as the company and the original artist that created the art, we can decide what license it falls under. And so we made that choice. If I could go back and use a time machine, I would put it up to a community vote, 100%.
Yeah.
I wouldn't do it any other way.
I think why didn't you do that from the beginning? Like,
I think he just said he would use a time machine.
the decision afterwards.
All right.
And I was like, wow, this guy.
I like the choice.
I'm gonna even step out on a limb here and say, when he called me and was like, I'm thinking about CC0, I was like, fuck yeah, like this is cool. I think we could do this well. Again, as Kevin has admitted millions of times, the comms and the way that we did it was probably not the best, right?
100%.
Kevin he's excitable. He gets excited.
It's a great
he wants
way
to
to
do
put
things. He's a little puppy, right? Like he wants to break.
I thought you were like some industry plant. I was like, why is this guy all of a sudden talking about CC0? And Xcopy is talking about it. It was just all of a sudden, and that's what caught me off guard.
Industry plant in what way? Like, what do you mean by that?
Like
CCO was invented by UTA to make sure that no one could own
If
the
anything,
IP.
it's the opposite of corporations, right?
It's a CC0. You're some corporate suit music guy.
Look, CCO couldn't exist in any real way before
Yeah, real quick.
blockchain.
Left.
Like
Copy
CC0
left
is going
Danny.
to be
copyright.
CC0 is going to be the way it is in the future. This is
No,
is
but-
new with blockchain, and it opens up a whole new realm of possibilities for creatives.
Let's go.
Nobody knows how unenforceable your rights actually are when it comes to like life as an artist. CC0 with blockchain opens up an entirely new realm for community collaboration, creativity, and everything else. Like, absolutely the right choice. All my stuff is CC0. I have had no repercussions from that. So I think, like, yeah, maybe like you jumped too soon and should have taught whatever. At the end of the day, it's the right choice.
It's a social contract.
I don't think that works
Well-
with music though. CC0.
Are you sure?
Happy birthday! Come on.
Okay, real quick, wait,
Happy
Wait,
birthday.
one last little point.
Yeah.
One last,
Kevin.
one last little tiny point. For better or worse, all art ends up being CC0. Just so you all know,
Yes.
copyrights expire. The Mona Lisa right now is CC0. Like every Sherlock Holmes CC0, Little Mermaid CC0. Like these are all, and you can take them as a corporate entity, change them a little bit, repackage them, and launch the next Little Mermaid movie. And so can other people. Winnie the Pooh. I mean, you name it. That's where it all goes. So it's just a time thing.
Yeah.
I would argue that, and I won against YouTube, that I made a video and I used Pink Floyd track. It was brilliant with the video. And they muted that part of the thing, and I wrote back and I said, I don't own this, of course, but I do agree that me using the song to proliferate on my video that was just an artistic piece, I'm actually putting more eyes. Not that Dark Side of the Moon needs my video to do that, because it's up until 1988 it was still on the top 200 and still returns to the top 200. I'm actually probably someone's going to hear that and go, what is this fucking song? It's going to be a fucking 16-year-old, because that's why Dark Side of the Moon ends up on the top 200 up until 1988 and still sometimes, because 16-year-olds, 17-year-olds, 18-year-olds are finding themselves, they're doing drugs, and they're going, Dad, have you even heard of this before? Yes, son. I fucked your mother during that song. You know what I mean? So that's the way.
All right, Troy. Troy's just trying to tell war stories of how he's had sex before. Okay.
No
We got it,
shilling.
Troy. You have an IMDb.
There's no sex shilling during the show.
Yeah, he's shilling and
Sex shilling.
Yeah.
You just ruined Dark Side of the Moon. Fuck.
Okay, wait. Couple things. One thing.
Troy, congrats on the sex.
Congrats on the sex.
Yes. Okay, real quick. One thing. Big important point, right? We've seen this in the music industry. If you have a song that you then a record label owns, right? The only way you actually get your money from that is your record label is the mafia. They're the mob. They go around, they bust kneecaps getting their money. If that company doesn't have infrastructure to bust kneecaps, you don't make any money. Right? And it's the exact same thing for anything that's not CCO. I need lawyers for suing people. Guess what? When you say I own a copyright to someone, everyone doesn't go, everyone, let's stop making it. They say, let's see how good that copyright is. They test your lawyers. Alibaba is cranking out more Moonbird stuff 24/7. So now, do you want to spend the money on lawyers fighting it? Or do you want to say, actually, you know what? Maybe some goofy, like Venice Beach janky Moonbirds, that actually might be better for the brand. Because actually, if I saw some terrible fake Venice Beach Moonbirds, I'm like, oh my God, Moonbirds are up. They're spreading. So
Also, the
There's
people
no-
with the money
I
are
honestly
losing.
feel like we should
go ahead.
we should be serious with this conversation, because if we're going to go CC0 with music, artists aren't getting paid, musicians aren't getting money, period. So when you're talking about, oh yeah, well, I'm going to have more listeners to your music, we're not getting paid at the jump. I feel like, so we have to really figure out how musicians can get paid for us.
Yeah.
At like in the beginning. So yeah, y'all can have the listeners and you can fuck his mama to the music or whatever. I don't care. Do what you want to do. But like, I really feel like the conversation, and it's crazy how we went straight to like, oh, everyone should like have this. Like, music is so diluted, and it's really upsetting to me. I am a musician, and there's other musicians in this space, and it's just upsetting how it's just so quick.
Yeah.
For like, just.
And
Yeah,
even
it
with the
should
money,
be, it should
even
be,
with the
it
money,
should be
it's like-
CC0.
Yeah.
And it doesn't really matter because Yeah, they don't have lawyers.
Why do you make
this is why
music
we're
then if
fighting
you're not
every day.
supposed to
And
give
it's annoying because we don't have people like what artists.
But wait,
what
but music right now
Music-
operates entirely differently than art because music, everyone is like absorbing, and there's not one person who goes, and I buy the song and put it in my house,
And I think
right?
that's
We all
the-
listen to the
that's
song and
the
we spread it up.
Yeah.
But for art, I am the person. I buy the Mona Lisa and put it in my house. I pay the big price tag to the artist. Music, there's no one person saying, I bought it. It's, we need to get money from micro streams, you know?
Yeah. We need to find it. We have to find the solution.
Yeah.
Well, that's the
And
problem.
that's
No
like
one's
all
built
this-
the
let's get
solution for like music royalties on chain yet, right?
Yeah.
And so I think there's a difference between like independent musicians making music, right? And like how do you monetize that? It really just I mean, Kevin said it earlier. There's no right or wrong answer. It's just like, what is the vision for your company? What is the vision for the track that you're making? And if you care about monetizing that track and having it copyrighted and you own it, and you're going to monetize it when someone uses it, then you need to prepare yourself
Absolutely.
for that path. I just think you're getting upset, and I agree. I mean, music's
I
music's
think
horrible.
my
The music
issue
is just
that
horrible.
The generalization of like, oh, everyone should just go under that.
Oh no, yeah, I think that's ridiculous. I mean, I think that's ridiculous.
Patrick says that to get likes on his tweets, okay.
I want to ask. I still have not my question answered.
She did. He did answer it.
Shut up.
So
I have a second question. My second question is because you started out giving, I guess, the rights to the holders, and then you switched to CC0. So why make the switch? Why not start off
Because
with
it was.
CC0?
I think
Just answer that
Yeah,
question.
Danny. Well, we're not
We
here
all
to
realized
talk
the
about
best you could do
movement.
with PFP IP was a hamburger stand. It wasn't that interesting at the end of the day.
So
It's
back
better
to-
just go
yeah.
CC0.
Back to Ed's point.
Sorry
So-
about that, Will.
No, you're totally. I actually really appreciate this. So for folks who are kind of unaware, just like taking a step back, 2016, the music industry switched from physical to digital. In 1 year, it was 99% physical to 99% digital. And I was at a Sony Connect meeting, and Sony, all the money in the world, all the lawyers in the world, billions of dollars, they got all the labels together, and they said, how do we fight this company called YouTube? Because we can't take them down. We can't, like, they were, they're trying to take the videos down. They get re-uploaded immediately. So even the big labels are dealing with this problem, right? Then we have the Spotify's giving a penny on the dollar to an artist for, you do 1 million streams and you get like $300, So musicians of a lot of the artists are some of the most disenfranchised. I think to what Kevin was saying earlier is like, the unfortunate reality to what you were saying, Ed, is like, unfortunately, we are moving further and further into a world where we as artists don't really have rights. We're moving into a decentralized environment. It's a free market. There are scammers and there are people who take advantage of us. And so I think it's, we are more than ever in dire need of self-sovereignty as artists. And this is where I think this technology comes into play. Because then people are collectors who are like, I'm tired of seeing musicians break their back for $1. They can go and they can collect music, and if they don't, we're saying, are you really a fan?
Yeah, I just think
But you got a microphone?
Yeah. So
Yeah, I mean, I just think when we talk about this topic, you really have to, be specific, because there's different mediums.
It's a far more in-depth topic, and I agree with you on that. And
100%.
I think what we are is we're at the very beginning of a cultural shift that's going to require a lot of effort. And the thing that we have right now that we never had before was blockchain provenance. We can tell when this art piece was created by whom. We can tell when this music was created by whom. So in both worlds, all we see lots of people sampling this here, pulling this here, and you never know who the influences are because they never share it. And you see so many artists, art on the top, just taking without giving any credit to anybody. And that's just the ecosystem that we're all living in right now. But if we can move more people towards this idea of the provenance matters in the art and the music, then there'll be more and more of a pressure for the people at the top to say, hey, you know what? I use this part from Ed, and you have to give you credit, and then in turn that will help pull you up because it will be on chain, it will be there for everyone to see, and everyone will notice when they use your work in their song. They'll be like, wait, Ed did that 2 months ago.
Yeah.
It's right here on chain. But that's going to take a lot of people to shift over to that space. And this is the very, very beginning of this. We're building something that is more equitable. We're building something that is more transparent and ultimately will give more value back to the small creators that create it. But it's going to take a lot of people to embrace this idea that you have to give up the old model of IP rights and ownership as an unenforceable entity that is completely biased against the small person, and in turn jump on something new, which is the blockchain provenance. That's going to create real change. It's just going to take a little bit for everyone to wrap their head around what exactly that means, and wrap their head around, hey, I should be looking at the provenance. I should be understanding where this is coming from. And this is the very beginning of all that right now. It's going to be hell for a few years, but once people understand that, it's going to be a much better world for creatives.
But I think we have to go further than provenance. We talked earlier about, Latasha, the first rapper on the blockchain, having her stuff in Sotheby's. And I know we were talking earlier
Star
about
Fox LaFleur.
how, you want to see more native Web3 galleries and not some more, some of these exclusive galleries. But I still think that's a win. That's a win for all of us in music, because one of the things that separates, art, NFTs, and just art in general from music is that people do collect and they collect art in their home, as was brought up earlier, and they put and the music and art is in galleries. I want to see more musicians, whether or not they are collaborating with an artist or they want to make something themselves, make fucking art. Let's put it in a gallery. Let's make it so that we've got to shift the culture so people want to have that shit in their house. Because if they don't, then it's just like, oh, well, I'll just listen to that shit for free. Fuck that.
Hey, I'm the only one that curses here. Please.
Okay. Yeah, so I was like, so music is different than art in one term. Actually, this is the last segue we're going to do, actually. This is perfect. Thank you, Ed. You helped us with this one, okay? Because one thing that's between art versus music is that a big part of music is you experience it collectively with other people, right? I go somewhere live with a bunch of people to experience, and the energy of everyone there is what we pay for. And that is still making money. That's where money's at right now. It's been in merch and live shows, because you can't replace those things. I can't go home and do this alone. I can't be in my room. I've gone to every metaverse concert this is. I saw Travis Scott in Fortnite. It was not the same vibes, right? And so that is something you can't do. And then for musicians, we got to think about how do you make those better? How do you make unique experiences? You don't have to have a big people. The best concerts I've ever been to had 300 people in it, not 1,000. Microphone. You got a mic?
My son liked the Travis.
If you hand him a mic, then you can use the mic after. Is that a deal?
Whatever. Sure.
There we go. Thank you. There we go.
I actually threw a concert with a blockchain, and I made sure that the NFTs were the tickets, and it was just music. But you have to get to legit. And these were people that were not in that Web3 space whatsoever. So we made sure that they got this, and it was an easy, very smooth way to get the NFT, of course. But they got these NFT tickets to be able to experience music, and that is a way. Like a lot of these musicians, especially outside of Web3, are like, oh, this is. They don't know how much liberty they have. They don't have any liberty whatsoever, because you have the industry and they're doing everything for you. To be able to make your own content and have that ability to know oh wow, I am going to actually connect to my fans, and I'm in control of all this. That is the power that we're always talking about for artists to have, that the industry doesn't give you. And so I did that, and I made sure I did that, because I was like, hey, I really want to not only do this to showcase to the Web3 space how musicians can use NFTs to build experiences, but I also wanted to expose Web2 artists to this is what you can do with the technology. This is something new. And so these are ways to do it. We just have to find, we have to have support to be able to do that, right? Me being a musician and telling people hey, we should do this dope concert for the culture, they're like, oh, I'm not really too sure about this. This is music. We're not too, so being in Web3, having that support system, not only for for artists who are illustration or other types of art, legit musicians need that support as well. We're here every day out here saying, hey.
Well, guess what? Don't worry. Apparently, Proof's got a new spot opening up. You guys gonna do concerts there?
Anyway,
can Ed Balloon perform there? Is that possible?
He's already texted both of us.
Yeah, he texts us every day.
I'm sure he has. What's up?
It's not really on the topic of music directly, but first off, I just want to say I really resonated with what you said about us needing as a society to have a paradigm shift from IP to provenance. And as someone who comes from a slightly different industry than a lot of the artists and music, I come from entertainment. And right now in Los Angeles, we're experiencing if everywhere you drive, you're seeing writers strike. And I worked as a content creator, producer for years, 10, 15 years. And I can tell you that people have made tens of millions of dollars off my content, and I've made less than 100 grand off of all of it. Things I've made have been sold to companies like Verizon for huge deals. And the company that sold it didn't even tell me they sold it. I wrote it, directed it, produced it, did everything. And because I wasn't there anymore, and because of contract, I got nothing. I get no credit, no nothing. And I wonder, often when I look at Web3, I see it as content creation. All these companies, it's been a shift to building a company is now content creation. You have an audience of people who are invested in it, and every announcement you make, everything you do is a new form of content. And I think that's sort of parallel to what we have as a society as entertainment, which is we all consume content rapidly. We watch shows, we watch movies, we do all of this. And the creators of it are not generally the ones benefiting most. It's, there's a few people at the top who are, and there's a few great writers who they get their paycheck, they get their payday, but there's a whole team on their staff who you don't know who they are, and they're interchangeable. And especially with AI coming around, we're becoming even more interchangeable. So I guess my question is you mentioned that the paradigm shift of provenance is pivotal, and I agree with you. But how does that really embrace the content outside of art? Because it's very easy to trace a piece of art on the blockchain, but how do you trace 6 writers who worked on a show? How do you trace the people who work on a song and the engineering?
You can write into a contract.
Well,
their
signature is going to be on it, right? And so is their address. And this is kind of the entire point where, like Patrick was saying, we're changing the entire value stack of distribution, right? So if you're on it, you're on it. Your name is going to be engraved in the asset on the transaction. Everyone can see it publicly, like from state change to state change.
It depends. I guess just to clarify, is are we saying if I'm making a show, I need to release it on a channel that is on chain, that documents all the credits on that, and then who's building that? Who's creating
it depends what system you're using, right?
Yeah, because YouTube, my channels were YouTube. I built multiple YouTube channels to millions of followers, and I got shit from it.
Totally. But I was a part of this company, Maker Studios, really, really early on, right? And so that. Yeah. And so for me, I came as a screenwriter and a producer of somewhat successful, but I was faking it. I was kind of terrible, but I did some things. But the reason I came to Maker is because there were gatekeepers who were subjectively deciding what was good enough. And those people usually had fucking terrible taste. They were just assistants that never got fired, right? And so what I saw with Maker, and the reason I left is I was like, oh, all these people are totally fucking sidestepping the network system. And it was kind of before all the studios went streaming. But that's what Web3's right now. The thing is we had YouTube, right, that had created the pipes and the monetization rails for people to build communities and to make money, right? And sure, it was the 3% that was making all the money and working with the PewDiePies of the world.
Well, it was the channels that YouTube gave $1 million to.
That's not true. That's not true. I worked every day. I worked with 55,000 YouTube channels, and I concentrated on the top 50. Most of those fucking channels were people who were just doing shit because they wanted to fucking 100%. Do it, and they didn't know anyone in Hollywood, and they just kept doing it. And so I think there was this release valve for creativity, and Maker Studios was like United Artists, right? It was like actors got together and started a studio. That's what Maker Studios was. Now there's another opportunity to figure out a system that will benefit smaller artists. And there's always going to be an unbalance, right? There's going to be people that get big, and there's people in the middle, and the people in the bottom, and the middle always gets squeezes, and the bottom gets bigger. But point is what Ed's talking about, what you're talking about. Yes, writers' rooms, writers will the WGA should have initiative of starting to put royalties on chain. Credits should be on chain, all that stuff.
Wait, real quick, Patrick.
Yeah. So here's the thing to your point. I agree with you. And I think your example is one of many iniquities that the creatives face in the current system. And the thing is it's all currently and ideally in the future. It's all enforced by social contract anyway, right? It is just all of us deciding what is important and how we enforce it, right? And right now we say, hey, we're going to outsource to the lawyers and blah, blah, blah. We know if somebody steals something that's bad, then we kind of like direct that. It's all about the provenance. If what creative contributions are recorded on chain, we have an immutable record of what people did what. And with that, you have a basis for forming a different type of social contract that will make it worse for people to say, hey, I see your contribution. I see you didn't get paid from this. There's something wrong there. It's always going to be on kind of the social contract to enforce that. There's not going to be any real way for you to like get a lawyer and do the thing. It's going to be all complicated and tough for everyone to do. But it really just comes down to just shifting our perception and kind of our community more towards a social contract that prioritizes the provenance, and then everything else kind of falls a little bit more into place based on that. And that's why I think that CC0 is a more progressive step and a much better step for creatives to take. Because if you start enforcing based on provenance, then all of a sudden you start rewarding the contributions that people actually made to it. And a lot of the mid-level people that, kind of between, creation and executive producer will actually get paid and recognized. So I believe there was somebody in the back who stood up and waved maybe for like a microphone.
Can we get a microphone in that person's hand? Can you walk up closer to the stage here? There we go.
Sounds like everyone's.
There's chat at home and they need to hear you as well.
Socialist.
All right. Hi, everybody. My name's Catherine, and I'm all about saving the artist right here. So we are dropping a platform that is going to help all artists. And
No, there's no.
Yes.
No, we do not allow. I'm sorry, we got to take your mic away.
I'm so sorry.
We don't allow shilling, but we can talk after. Thank you, Trick.
No, I still have a question.
No.
I'd rather hear the show than Danny's question. I'd rather hear a show. I'd rather hear a show. I'd rather hear a show.
If you say the same thing the third time in a row, you're off mic for.
I would rather hear a show. I'd rather hear a show.
He started one way and then he switched.
Okay, you did the same.
Oh my God,
Danny, like for real. Okay.
He flip-flopped.
I got a real question.
Slow down.
Do you have a Moonbird?
I'd rather hear a show.
Whoa, we're almost at the end. We're almost at the end, guys. Here we go.
Yeah, something I just wanted to bring up.
Silence.
1 second. All right, I got it.
Wow.
So, with music, as far as I know, with art, there aren't any performing rights organizations, and music actually does that. There's BMI, there's ASCAP, and they actually go and collect royalties, and it's not just all about streaming. It's about the publishing, the sync, the mechanicals, the writer's share, and they actually do a pretty good job. You don't have to hire an attorney to go and actually get your royalties on that end. They actually do it, and for myself, I did a lot of music for movies and television, and that stuff still is being collected, and I don't have to do anything to actually go and retrieve those royalties. So, I mean, that's something that's different that I don't think has been mentioned.
Yeah, so, and I've always wanted to start a company that destroys ASCAP and BMI. Like, we can do it on chain, like, that's like, or they should do it. They should buy the company that does it. It just hasn't happened yet, and I think I get your frustration, Ed. It just hasn't happened yet.
Mike?
You don't believe in
I
time.
totally understand it's not going to happen overnight.
yeah.
I get it. I'm just saying that,
You got something
Bear,
for us?
did you really write Check 3?
I did a rewrite on it.
Oh.
A small rewrite on Check 3.
I'm just enjoying this whole
Here you
time.
go.
Everyone's talking, but I'm just reading the comments, enjoying all of this.
Stop shilling. He's already making money on Shrek 3.
I didn't know. Uncredited. Jeez.
Okay, here we go.
Amazing.
So I have
It's
a
on
question
my
about
chain.
enforcement of CC0. So I think a lot of NFTs are still about vanity. If I own a rare Moonbird, I want to post on Twitter and say, look how much money I spent, right?
Mhm.
It's a luxury good, potentially a luxury brand, right? So with luxury brands, if you think about Gucci, they burn their stuff that doesn't sell because they don't want it to go in the aftermarket. So with CC0, how do you think about enforcement? And if somebody on Venice Boulevard is going to sell a janky Moonbird that looks ridiculous, and it's the same Moonbird that I have, I'm gonna be, yeah, I'm gonna be, that feels degrading to my art, right?
So how do you think about that? How do you attack that? Because I think there's a lot of vanity projects that are out there that that is their business model. They want it to be a luxury good, and I think with CC0, and again, it's mostly social contracts, but with IP rights, there's a little bit more of a threat. Smart people are going to figure out they can do whatever they want anyway. But the people that are in Venice Boulevard selling plushies, they may think, I might get sued, so I'm probably not going to do this. So there's a little bit of a layer there. So how do you think about that?
Kevin, can I answer the question for you?
I know.
I want to help you out real quick. Louis Vuitton is the most copy. I can go to Canal Street and buy so much.
Talk about Alibaba.
But they're at war. They're at war
But it's the
constantly with it.
easiest
And
thing
they have expensive lawyers that constantly, it gets shut
No,
down.
but
all
I
the time.
think the point is if it's that popular that it is on the street, then holy shit, you've done something really right.
And I will say that if you're the one who has the NFT that is worth so much, you are the one who can sell it. The other person cannot sell it. So that is the value in the JPEG. Someone could click save it, but I'm the only one who can sell it.
It's the same thing with any X copy, any Mona Lisa. The person that holds it is actually the one that has the value.
Yeah.
If I went to Venice and I saw somebody selling prints of my art, I would buy some. I
Fuck
think
yeah, you would.
that would crack me up. Be like, I made it. I don't care about Gagosian, but if I find some random street person selling my art,
Go to Google
that's
Maps
fantastic.
View.
And the
Google
collector
Maps
of that
View.
art piece, knowing that you have random people around the world thinking about this and selling it, and it's popular enough that that's actually something that's viable.
Isn't that flattery?
I think you've succeeded.
Imitation, right?
Yeah, exactly.
If you're not being
Flattery
bootlegged,
is
you're
its finest form.
Real quick, if you are not being bootlegged, you are not luxury. That's all there is to it. That's a fact, okay? That means that your stuff is too cheap, right? They're making the same versions of it, okay?
Here's the thing.
We're gonna make the Chinese
The
version
problem
of
with
this.
copies has always been about brand confusion. Which one's the real one and which one's not, right? If there's a bunch of copies, how do you know which one's well, we have blockchain provenance. We know exactly where the real one is.
Yeah.
So all the rest don't matter. If anything, all the rest just build up. Whatever form it takes, just add value to the original. And I think we're starting to see that. And again, that's part of the whole paradigm shift. So I'm fully for it. I mean, you want to go make prints by all means.
Even physical items. So if you have a physical back token, the one on Venice Boulevard is not going to have any provenance on the blockchain, right? So maybe we have to move towards everything that the company puts out has to be somewhat recorded on the blockchain.
I think all the rest of the physical back tokens, they're all a bunch of nonsense anyway.
Yeah.
That's the security's terrible. It can be easily hacked. I mean, that's all just marketing. None of that stuff is
Patrick,
real.
it's the end of the show. We can't start another fight.
I
know the chat. I know a couple people in the chat are just itching to talk about.
I'd also say going back to YouTube and the studios, when we first started with YouTube, I mean all the film and television studios were suing YouTube, right? Copy infringement, and then they went from that to then paying us so we could pay the creators to promote their shit. And it's and it was all the remix culture. It's like why I think I heard New York State of Mind rap by Biggie the other day. It was this AI track. Mm-hmm. And first of all, it was fucking incredible. Secondly, I can see a future where the rails that Ed you want to help monetize the stems or the writer, those the music labels are actually going to make that happen because they're going to realize people are going to start fucking remixing all of the shit using AI, and they're going to start getting money from that. And that infrastructure that comes about from them monetizing that will come down to you, and you will be able to do that. Although you'll be signed by one of them, and you're getting remixed by them. So
I wanted to. My friend here that had a great question, content creator. That's a man after my own heart. Big Film 3 community in LA and abroad, and. There's a friend of mine named Dave Bianchi. He made for 6 months, 10-episode series funded through the blockchain, cast people from audience votes in the Discord, and Mina Suvari's in it. She's not a big star anymore, but they did it. Will it be successful? I don't know. But everybody from the gaffer to the PA to the top to the bottom, above and below the line will see the light of day, repetitively in currency if it does.
Troy, are you singing a song right now? What are you doing?
What?
This is a poem? It was okay.
The way I
real quick before we end, couple last things here because we got to be so thankful that Kevin and Stevey came. And next week is you guys actually are doing. It's a proof party, the opening of the Foundry, which is it's downtownish. Is that right?
It's downtown at the Row. Have you ever been to it where the American Apparel building
I've never
is?
left Venice, but I'm gonna leave Venice this Friday. Okay.
It's next Friday.
Next Friday. Sorry, next Friday.
Yeah.
And I don't know if Kevin, you want to just wrap up, explain like what's going on with Mythics next, what we can look forward to before we say goodbye to everyone.
Yeah, why don't you take it? You're front and center on the Mythics front.
You get a shill. Only one person gets a shill.
No shilling.
I'm just here for CC0 talk. So
there we go.
Go ahead, take it over.
No shilling.
Mythics, like this celebration will be our first opening ceremony at our new IRL location. We have it. It's in the Row. It's in have you ever done like Smorgasburg and like that whole area with? It's in one of those little shops. It's super cute. It's called the Foundry. It's super cute. It's called Foundry by Proof, and so we're gonna have different exhibitions and different meetups. It's gonna be our one spot for like 6 months. We're gonna be in there. We do a lot of events, and so this is our home base now for the next 6 months. Kicking off with Mythics. Mythics will launch at some point before then, because this is going to be our celebration. We have not announced the actual date, but they start to reveal around then. We are doing a very interesting mechanic. It is 100 that will be revealed a day. And there's also a burn mechanic with our oddities collection as well. It's very complicated, but I'm really excited about it because it's an interesting mechanic. It could be up to 20K, but who knows? This is a community curated collection. It is incredibly high fidelity, beautiful art. I would really recommend watching our Mythics Chronicles videos to just like learn a little bit about them. And Mythics are like amazing. They're incredible. I don't know what else to say. Do you have anything else?
No, you shilled quite well.
That was good.
That was
really good.
I will say I can
come
show a
in,
little bit
you'll
better.
get it.
I've been to multiple proof parties. They have the best food, the
We have
best
the
drinks
best food and the best
every
drinks.
single time.
Full bar, all
David
drinks.
Blaine ate a wine glass in front of me, and it was lit. When I'm saying
utility,
chewed it, ate it, and then did some magic that literally made us all like we didn't talk about anything the rest of the day. So
Tame Impala was that's why I skipped Ape Fest that day to go see Tame Impala. Thank you for that.
It's true.
Next Friday.
Not this Friday, but next Friday.
You do need like an oddity or a mythic or a moon, but just get a Moonbird or a Proof Collective Pass, whatever. It's fine. No. You can have any one of our tokens.
Token
you can
proof
come.
there or what? How do we prove?
Yeah, what is the link right there?
Token proof.
Lovely. Beautiful.
It's free.
Discount
It
code
is free.
Stevey.
Free
Yeah.
food, free drinks, open bar. It's a great time. Buy an oddity or a mythic. Come over July 21st. We do it right. We treat everyone well.
I will be there. Patrick, you never have a shill. Do you have a shill?
Patrick, you should come, by the way.
No shill? Okay.
No shill?
No shill. He doesn't need a shill. Bear Snake, what's going on? You got so many things going on in life.
30 seconds.
He's got 30 seconds on the hot spot.
We're going to have we have the Shadow Hats, sub 1K collection of ordinals. That's going to be coming up in the next couple of weeks. We're also doing a sort of a sub collection called Shadow, so new art's going to be coming out about that. And then we had a fun announcement today, joining a bunch of our friends with Yuga and the other side.
Sorry.
Here's another
announcement.
Another thing. Anyway, I'm excited because a big part, I think, of what we're all doing here, right, is all about collaboration, holding hands, and so it was really cool to come together with a lot of people, including Gremplin, who I have the biggest internet crush of all time on, and now we're friends. To do this thing with Legends of the Mars, so I look forward to more people doing collaborations.
Beautiful. And with that, that's our show. Thank you, everyone. We will see you next week. Thank you, Kevin. Thank you, Stevey. Thank you, Bear Snake. Thank you, Patrick. Thank you, Trick. Trick will play some music out. Bye, chat. I love you.